Welcome to What is Good in the Neighborhood. I am Andrew Shaw and excited today to be joined and honored by two great guests who do so much for our community with CASA. Carrie is here. Carrie, thank you. And Carl, a volunteer. We're going to get into that a lot as well. But how are you both?
Great.
Good. Thank you for making time to be here.
Thanks for having us.
It's such an important conversation and somewhat tough, but super positive. I mean, we can do a lot together to make it positive. But let's talk about CASA of the Pikes Peak region.
So CASA stands for Court Appointed Special Advocates. And what we do is recruit, train, and support volunteers like Carl from the community who stand up for and advocate for the best interest of child abuse victims within the court system. And we're actually a national nonprofit. We are here in the Pikes Peak region. We're one of 950 across the country, and ours covers El Paso and Teller County.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's been around almost 50 years, started in the Northwest, if I remember right, up in Seattle, and just has grown because of the need. And it's maybe a lot of negative circumstances, but the opportunity to turn it into positive situations and help children change their stories.
It's amazing. There are a lot of sad stories that come through, obviously, but what I've found just from working at CASA is that I meet the most amazing humans. The volunteers that step in to do this work really are magnificent people, and it's heartwarming to go and meet with them every day. So,
and helping out not just 100 or 200, but helping out a lot of children in the Pikes Peak region.
Yes, last year we advocated for, I think it was 626 kids. We know that in a given year there are about 800 in our region who need a CASA advocate. So we really are trying to fill in that gap and advocate for all the kids that need us.
That's incredible. And we'll dive into that a little bit more about kind of the process, how it happens. But you mentioned, volunteers are so important. And Carl, you've been a volunteer for more than 7 years?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's incredible. Thank you for doing that.
I love it.
First of all. And what got you into it? What made you just jump in and say, I want to help, I want to volunteer?
I had retired, and my wife said, you're not going to go play golf every day. You're going to go do something. At that time, she was working at the Marian House, Catholic Charities. And she would come home with some just unbelievable stories about helping people. And I said, I'd like to find an organization where I could help kids. Because at one time I was international president of a fraternity, Delta Tau Delta, worked with college kids. And I was always amazed how they had so much given to them and how little they were doing in community service. So we got involved that way. So when I moved here, I said, I'd like to find something with kids that don't have all those advantages. How can we help them? Because I believe if you spend the time, effort, and money now to help them, you're going to stop them from being homeless, being out on the streets, being in jail. So, I'd rather be proactive than reactive.
Well, thank you for doing that. And what was it? We kind of talked about this off camera before, but being a male volunteer, super important for CASA.
Yes. Big reason is about 50% of our cases are male, especially the young adult males. You get a teenage boy, say 14 to 18, who's been in the system for a while, they're very mad, they're very angry. If they're not reunited with their parents, they've been jumped around, pushed around from foster home to foster home, and they haven't had a male model in their life. And we all know that as you grow up, you need a male model if you're going to be a better man. So what we try to do is say, okay, let us come in and work with them and give them an opportunity to see what can be done, that there is a future for you. You are important, and we think you're something special. So we're just here to help you. An advocate means I advocate for you. I don't advocate for the court. I don't advocate for the attorneys or the legal system. I advocate for you. And for a lot of these young men, they've never had anyone tell them that. And they're like, wow, someone cares about me.
So. I think that's so important because at that age, there's a lot going on hormonally. I mean, in their brains, they're taking in so much especially in our world now, and trying to filter it out. And then having somebody just say, I care about you, I believe in you, makes a huge difference.
Yeah, especially think about their self-worth. They're thinking, I must be the reason my mom and dad don't want me around. I'm the reason. And their self-worth is down here. We want to build their confidence up, because if we build their self-worth and confidence up, then they're going to feel like, I can be better, I can have a future. And if you do that for a child, you've done 80% of the work.
Yeah, and it's contagious. It starts
Yes.
building, that confidence builds.
Yeah.
They go on, they want to maybe give back and do the same for somebody else.
Yes.
And it's a chain reaction there.
Yeah.
What does it mean to you as your role to have such an incredible person as a volunteer and all of your other volunteers?
So a lot of these kids, most of these kids that have come into this system haven't seen safe adult role models. They've seen things that children should not see. They've seen cycles of violence and addiction and just really bad things. And when, especially the young men, when they are paired with an advocate like Carl, for boys, someone like Carl can show them, like, look, you can grow up to be a respectful man, a responsible man, a man who doesn't yell, a man who doesn't have problems with addiction. It's kind of like they show them another way forward. And children become what they see. So if all they've seen is negative role models, then they run the risk of becoming that when they are adults themselves. So we're breaking cycles is what we're doing.
Yeah, how long, I mean, the trust and the cycles have to, the trust has to be earned by everybody, but what they've been through, most of us can't even imagine.
Right.
Right.
But then those cycles, how long does that, I guess everybody's different, right? But you have all the resources with CASA to help volunteers and to help people help the children.
Yes. Do you want to talk about some of the resources you guys have?
I think the most important resource we have are the advocates themselves. Because if you think about it, these kids, especially the young men, are looking at people like, okay, I might have had 2 or 3 caseworkers on my case. I might have had 2 or 3 attorneys. It's like a revolving door of other people. If you're the one constant person that's there, then you can start to build a relationship. And I always do that by finding out what's important to them. I'll ask them dumb questions like, what's your favorite candy bar? And they'll say Snickers. Next visit, I'll be talking to them and they say, guess what? I got an A on the test or something. I'll pull out a Snicker bars and I'll put it down and I won't say a word. And they look at it and they look at me and they look at it. And then all of a sudden you see the light come on in their eyes and go, oh, you remembered my favorite candy bar. No one's done that. And then we also try to use humor because this can be very down for the kids and for the volunteers. Oh my gosh, you go to court, you hear all these cases, and but I find that these kids are so resilient, and they love humor. So we make fun of each other. And with young men, that's easy. I'll ask them, "What's your favorite pro team?" The Los Angeles Raiders. Oh well, I've got to get off your case. I can't be. You're not a Bronco
We're
fan.
done.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, we're done.
Yeah.
But or they'll say something like, I'll ask them, "What's your favorite music?" I like rap music. I said, "Oh, I like LL Cool J." And they go, "Who?" And they start laughing because it breaks the tension. And then you have an opportunity, if you build that relationship the right way, to start talking to them about what do you really want in life and how can I help you get there? How can I help you? Not do it for you. How can I help you? So
You just brought up something I wanted to ask about is that you're not doing it for them because that doesn't do them any good in the
Right.
long run, but you're helping them get there. But then the relationship I don't know what the right word is, but in a typical situation, the relationship starts right out of the gate, or even before, right? And they haven't had that experience. So they're learning something maybe at 12, 13, 14, or even older of who do I trust? How do I trust? Is this worth it or not? But once you get them to that trusting point, is it just, what a feeling. Like, how does it feel?
it feels great because one thing I like to concentrate on is in our system now, the court system is putting more of the responsibility back on the child. There's a new youth and foster training and all of these great programs, but a lot of this puts decision making back on these children. If you've been a child in the system for a while, other people make decisions for you. You don't make decisions.
Yeah.
So now what we're trying to do is help them with, okay, like I had a young man the other day tell one of my advocates, I want a car. That's great. So how are you going to pay for it? Well, I'll get a job at Wendy's. I said, that's wonderful. And he said, I'll make like $15 an hour. I said, that's great. I said, how much of that do you can give to your Uncle Sam? He said, I don't have an Uncle Sam. I said, oh yeah, you do. And then explaining to them about insurance, and you got to have a driver's license.
Yeah.
And then they go, oh, well maybe I better, what can I do to start on the way? It's okay, let's work out together. What do you think you need to do? And so we take them through the steps of making decisions.
And everything's a teaching moment.
Right, right. And for them, it's like, then I made the decision. Yes, you did. and I'm going to help you because you made the decision. No one else can make these decisions for you because at some point in your life, you're going to be out of the system. And so we want you to be prepared to make the best choices for yourself, but also for society because you are a member of society and you're very valuable.
Incredibly valuable, and maybe have more insight to what's really going on in the world
Right.
by the time they get through this.
Yes.
Man, you brought up so many things that I love to hear this, and I love to think of all the incredible opportunities, everybody can help. When you give them that ownership and that accountability, what is it like for both of you to see someone kind of turn that corner, so to speak, and feel that confidence, shoulders back, instead of looking, because probably some of them don't even make eye contact at first.
Right.
And you have to deal with that and build with that. But what is it like for you guys to see that progression?
It's beautiful. When we had a girl recently, her case closed a couple of years ago, and she had an advocate who stood by her side. She was failing out of high school when we first got on her case, and she ended up graduating early, top of her class, and she studied hard, and she sent herself to college, and she's living on her own now. I think she's like 20, 21 years old. And watching her from being a kid who was skipping school and flunking all of her classes to just getting that confidence that her advocate helped her to get, and now she's making her way in the world, and it's beautiful to see people step in and change these kids' lives.
That's an awesome story. How the program goes for how long age-wise? Is there a limit?
Well, the kids that come into the system, they can be anywhere from 0 to 18, and then we assign CASAs to their case when the case opens, and the CASA advocate stays on the case until it closes, and that can last anywhere from, what would you say, like 18 to 24 months, I think is average. So
And kind of help that transition out into the next step of life?
Well, so some of the cases end with adoption. Some of the cases end with a
Awesome.
child being reunified with their parents, which is our number one goal, is to reunify children with their biological parents. And then some of the cases do end when the kids turn 18 and age out of the system. So there's different ways that they end and different times that they end. But the advocate is there to be the one consistent adult on the case for the whole time.
And that consistency is so important for
It is.
for any child.
Right.
It is. These kids are used to jumping from home to home. They're used to changing caseworkers, changing schools, changing foster families. And so to have one adult like Carl who shows up when he says he's going to and does what he says he's going to, it makes a huge difference.
Gigantic. I think that's awesome.
And I think for me, it's watching our new advocates when they come through, because I'm involved with the training as well.
Okay.
To help them. But to watch a new advocate go to their first case, because what we do, we have another layer of support for them. It's called the peer coordinator, and I'm one of the peer coordinators. What we do is we take new advocates and we help them through their first case. So to watch a new advocate go to court, which if no one has ever been to court and had to stand up in front of a judge or a magistrate, you can understand why these kids are scared to go to court.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
So to help our advocates with, you can do this, and watch the advocates grow along with the child. That's what warms my heart, because then both sides are winning. It shouldn't be you win, we lose, or it's a win-win for both of us. CASA wins because we were able to do what we want to do. The child wins because now they have support that will help them. And as Carrie said, when they get 18, they have to make a pretty big decision. They can stay in the system a little bit. It's called youth in transition until they're 21. But once they do that, CASA comes off the case because we close the original case. So then these children are having to make decisions. And if they don't have the families around them, a lot of them still call their CASAs after they leave the system. Hey, guess what? I got my first job. I've got a baby or whatever. And I'll tell you, that first phone call you get from a kid on your case, the first time he calls you from a foster home or group home, hey, Carl, you got a minute to talk? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just warms your heart.
It warms your heart, and it makes you think they trust somebody. And to me, they've not been able to trust many people. That's a very valuable thing to me. So we have to be careful that we don't break that trust.
Right.
And always let them know, I will advocate for you, but I can't do the work for you. You've got to do it with me. So come on, let's get together on this. And just watch these kids As you said earlier, they go through all the hormones, they're going through everything else, and they will ask you all kind of questions, and you just have to go, okay, why did you want to ask me that? What do you want to know? You know, get them to speak more about what means a lot to them.
So CASAPPR.org
Yes.
is your website. Lots of great information on there. So go to that website. If this is something that, as you're watching this, is thinking, man, I want to learn more. I want to be a part of it. CASAPPR.org. But what are the steps for, if somebody wants to volunteer, what are the steps they need to do?
So we actually have 3 different programs you can volunteer, and we've been talking about advocacy today, which is the one most people know us for. But there are other options if you want to get involved, and advocacy is not for you. But the first thing you would do is attend a volunteer information session. We have about 2 of them a month. They are virtual or in person. They're all listed on our website. So you RSVP to one of those, CASAPPR.org. You can go ask all your questions. You can meet seasoned advocates like Carl and find out what it's like. And then once you decide to go through with it, there's an application process. So it's kind of like filling out a job application. You have to do an interview. You have to pass a background check. And then there's a 2-week training course where that's the thing. You don't have to have a certain background. Like, you don't have to be a retired teacher. You don't have to be a child psychologist. We provide the training to help you work with these kids. So all you have to have is a heart for kids and the ability to pass a background check.
I love that. Have a heart for kids, and who doesn't? You know,
Right,
we really
yeah.
should. And probably, you know, you brought up that point. You don't have to be, your pedigree doesn't have to be a certain way, because and when you're looking at 600 plus children you've served just in the 2 counties,
Yeah.
who knows who's the perfect match?
Yeah, everyone brings their own skills. Like, we have an advocate who is I think he's an engineer of some kind of engineer, but he, you know, engineering's not a background in child psychology, but he's big into mountain biking. And so he got paired with a child, and he introduced that child to cycling. And so some of our advocates introduce their hobbies or their passions, like gardening or art. And so everyone brings something to the table.
Exactly, and can match up with somebody, except for maybe the Raiders thing. We gotta,
Yeah,
we'll have to
that's
work-
tough.
We'll have to work on that one. As a volunteer who's been there for so long and helping others too now, Carl, you know, and we kind of talked about this too, I think most people want to volunteer and help. That's just in our human nature. But then somehow, some way, we get thoughts in our head, well, I don't have enough time, or maybe I'm not meant for this. And the hardest part is to just gather more information to make the right decision.
Right.
What would you recommend to somebody who's thinking about being a volunteer and jumping in and helping out these children?
Come to one of our volunteer information systems and ask your questions. We'll answer any of them. What I try to get across to people, and especially men, is that we're like a family. We are at CASA. I may not have the answer to a question on your case, but somebody I work with does. And we have so many layers of support for them. No, we're not going to take you after 2 weeks and say, okay, here's your case, go. Your peer coordinator is going to go to your court hearings with you, go to meetings with you. You'll have a case supervisor that will be there for you, who's a paid employee of CASA. But we've got other resources within there. We have, if I have a problem with a Latino boy, some kind of cultural thing, there's somebody I can go to in the office that says, this is what's probably going on, and here's how you can do it, how you can handle it. It's just all kind of things that we do to support you, but at the same time, we want you to laugh and we want you to enjoy what you're doing. Because if you feel like this is a grind, then the child picks up on that. And if they feel like I always tell the kids, we don't get paid for this. You know, we're here,
Right.
we don't get paid for this. And we're here because we believe in you. And when you can do that for a child, if you just help one child, just think if we got 500 new volunteers over the next year, we could help at least another 500 kids, and that's just one at a time, just one.
Yeah.
So I always use that thing about one.
Yeah, if everyone helped one, we would change
That's
the whole
it.
world.
We
Yeah.
would. We
Well,
would.
and
And
help
then
Hudson County.
all of those children have that incredible foundation to go change the world in their time, and that's part of how it all works. So we're coming up toward the holiday season, and a lot of children throughout the world, or if they haven't already written their wish list, they're planning it, they're thinking about it at night. What would your wish list be?
My wish list would be for all of the children who need a CASA to have one. You mean like, is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you need from us? What do you need from the community?
Okay.
What do you need?
Yeah,
What's your
so
wish
we
list?
need more volunteers, more people to take this next step. We love financial contributions. It does cost about $1,200 to serve one child with an advocate for a year. So we take donations on our website, and we also, especially during the holidays, we will take new toys and clothing items for children 12 and under, and we will take gently used clothing donations for teenagers.
Okay. We're going to try to make some of those wishes come true for
Great.
everybody, not just you guys, but all the
Awesome.
children
Right.
too. Any last thoughts on volunteering?
If you think you can make a difference, you can. If you don't think you can, you still can.
Yeah.
Because all you need to do is meet one of these kids. Just meet a kid that all he wants me to do is, Carl, can we go to McDonald's? I want an ice cream. And I'm sitting there going, how many of my kids, that for them, that was just anytime they wanted ice cream, they had it. But for a kid to say something like that, or my first case, my young man, all he wanted to do, he said, there's a zoo there in El Paso County I've never been to. He was 15 years old at the time he told me this. I took him to the zoo. We get tickets. We go to the zoo. And he went from being a 15-year-old young man to an 8-year-old kid. He was running around. He said, can I have some of those dot things? You know,
I
to
love
see
that.
these kids, if you could just see what you can do for somebody. And it doesn't take money, and it doesn't take a lot of your time. It just takes you. Be yourself. And if you do that, you'll be amazed what you can help, how you can help a child.
And the more you do it, it's like weightlifting or getting through something. You
Yeah.
crave it, and you
Yep.
just want to do more, and,
Right.
and you see the results. So
Yes.
if you want to know what's good in the neighborhood, talk to these two. This is what's good in the neighborhood. CASAPPR.org. Appreciate you both, and thank you for all you do, and have a blessed holiday season.
Thank you.
so much.
All right, we'll see you next time on What's Good in the Neighborhood.